I'm live. All right. Sounds good. Hello, everybody. We are back again for the weekly live show. I, uh, and I think that's what's going to be. I think that's how it's going to go, folks. I think I enjoy this a lot. I like doing these live shows. I like talking with you guys. It's part of what brings me some joy in this life. So I think I'm gonna do this weekly or bi-weekly, at least try to. Well, let me shut this door. It's nice. It's nice to see a lot of you returners, the people that keep coming back and joining me for what ends up being a good like 2.5 hour show. And I like that. I like rapping with you guys. Let's move closer here. Yeah. So, like always, I'm gonna have like a main topic to just rap about right out of the gate. And then, of course, I will talk with you guys, answer any questions, rap back and forth about certain things, whatever you want to. We tend to usually talk about, my movies or movies in general, toys, the 1980s, which is why we're here. Oh, hello, Leroy Green 85. He says you've been on fire with content lately. Yes, thank you, Leroy. Yeah, it's part of trying to get me out of this depression and some of the bad funk I've been in, and doing this stuff, doing the channel, doing some of the shows. It brings happiness to me. So I certainly have been more active doing it, and Casey and I feel Casey and I are probably going to be doing most of the shows together, since it just seems hard, I guess, to get Chris Tansky over here. Certainly Carrie, who just completely disappeared. I mean, I talked to her and she still comes to the Saturday morning sleepovers, but I don't know what's going on. And I've talked about Ruby before. Ruby we can get. It just depends on what type of subject for Crept from the 80s we want to do. But like Casey, for example, I just shot the Chris Seaver movie collection, showing off my movie collection part 2 video. That's done. It just needs to go up. Casey and I just shot another episode of Scruffy Looking Scoundrels, our Star Wars show. That was just shot. That's going to go up. And then Casey's coming over in a couple days, and we're shooting the next episode of Crept. And then at some point, Tansky's supposed to come over, and we're going to shoot our episode on the glorious year of 1984, because there's so many awesome television, cartoons, and movies celebrating their 35th anniversary this year, so we're going to do a nice show on that. But yeah, I'm glad people seem to be digging it. It's nice when, we'll get comments like, oh, we barely caught up with the last stuff, and you keep uploading new stuff, and I mean, that's good to hear, huh? Whereas a little bit ago, we were, few and far between putting up stuff just because of our lives and how we were feeling, where we were at, what have you. What you got for me? Casey and I have great chemistry. Well, thank you. I mean, I would hope so. We are cousins. Our fathers are brothers. and we have known each other our whole lives. um, I think he's 4.5, almost 5 years younger than me, but we have a great rapport. We always have. We used to be best friends. Yeah, I mean, I love Tansky. It's just, he has a work family life as well, and it's just tough. It's tough to get him over here. Um, I'm sure he's lazy as well, and sometimes he just doesn't want to come over, even though he's 5 minutes away. 5 minutes away, down the street from me. But we'll get him. We'll get him back in here. He'll be doing some more. Maybe I can get him to come in here and we'll do a couple. We'll bang out a couple back to back. So we have some fresh Tansky for you guys. Because, does he taste good? What do we got here? Good idea, Signal. Yeah, certain years. I mean, well, it's mostly because of the anniversaries we got going on. We'll probably do a 1989 as well, since that's the 30th anniversary this year of 89 movies and content from back then. I've threatened this before, but at some point I do believe we are going to do, I would say maybe a 2, possibly even a 3-part series of the 1990s and our lives in the 90s, even though it's my, I'm not a big fan of the 90s, but I have a lot to say. I certainly did a lot in the 90s. A lot of things changed in the 90s. Me being a teen and going into my 20s in the 90s. Aesthetically, how things change, all that stuff. We will do like a Crept from the 80s, 90s special at some point. And then I think you can expect us to do some more of the director-themed episodes, certain movies. Like I still want to do. I've got a lot of stuff planned, folks. Let's just put it there. I've got some stuff planned, and we will get there. Just wait and see. Hopefully you'll still be on the channel. Speaking of the channel, I want to thank all the new subscribers, the people who showed up. Hopefully you have hit the notification. You ding that bell so you know that when videos like this or the new shows pop up, you can check them out. I hope more and more comment with us and talk with us and interact with us. We know there's more of you out there than the 5 or 6, 7 of you that constantly talk to us. Which we love. Of course we love. But Leroy, you heard the Karate Kid is getting a 4K release this year? Well, I hope so. I really do. I mean, with it being the 35th anniversary and all, we should get something. Not just Cobra Kai Season 2, but we got to get something. We got to get, gosh, a new soundtrack, maybe, album release, new 4K, like a commemorative making of book. Come on, it's the Karate Kid. It's classic. Classic stuff. But the main topic of tonight will be, why am I so obsessed with the 80s, with the decade of the 1980s? Why am I obsessed with this thing that I talk about so much and won't let go? That's the main topic of tonight. But again, I will interweave with your questions and we will rap and interact. Leroy Green, it was announced yesterday, Coming to America sequel is greenlit. The director announced. I did read that. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know, man. Eddie hasn't been Eddie in a long time. I mean, that magical heyday is past as far as how amazingly funny he was back then in the 80s. And I certainly am not a fan of any of his more family stuff. I just am not. Never appealed to me. I mean, I love Coming to America for sure. John Landis, Eddie Murphy, those two are, mm, Trading Places. God damn, love that movie. But I don't know, man. We'll see. It's been a long time. uh, we'll see how it goes. That's interesting. Celestial, Celestial. Hello, everyone. Hello. I keep forgetting Celestial's real name. I don't know if you want to mention it or if we just keep going by Celestial. Yes, I too want a physical release of Cobra Kai as well. I think it would be a missed opportunity, very stupid if they didn't um, do a actual Blu-ray release of that show. They're missing out on some dollars, fans, for sure. Because let's face it, I mean, people are just gonna, get a month to YouTube Red when Cobra Kai's there, rocking. They're gonna watch it and then they're gonna cancel. But I heard something that season 2 was gonna be free this year, something like that. I don't know. Maybe wrong. I don't know. Either way, I will see too. But yes, you were right. I do want the Blu-ray. They really should do it. And that's another thing that needs to come out for the 35th anniversary of Karate Kid. Put that series out on Blu-ray. It will sell. For sure. Because frankly, I'm not a digital guy. I prefer physical media. I still get Blu-rays or DVDs. Not many DVDs anyway, but Blu-rays. I still get that stuff to have, to hold, to put in machines, to put on shelves. That's the way I've always been, and that's the way I always will be. I don't know. I don't trust the digital stuff. I don't trust downloads or any of that stuff. Is it really yours? I don't know. So yeah, give me that physical media. Brian Short. Thank you for coming, Brian. Thank you. Brian Short, what's up? Chris, how about that Fright Night Blu-ray coming next month? You know, everyone keeps talking about this Fright Night Blu-ray. Folks, and I'm not being a dick here, but I have 2 Fright Night Blu-rays already. I have the Fright Night documentary that is 8 hours long. I have that. I have Fright Night 2 on Blu-ray from a Spanish Blu-ray release. I am set with my Fright Night. Everything extra-wise that's on the new Sony Blu-ray that's coming out, I already have on the previous discs. So this new one coming out means nothing to me. But it's good for the people who missed those first Twilight Time releases. And then even, people love the Eureka release. But again, all of that stuff I have, so I didn't need it. It is my favorite horror movie of all time, so I appreciate everyone coming to me saying, Fright Night Blu-ray, but come on, it's me. I am good, I'm set. Celestial, yes, it's Sean, I keep forgetting. I'll call you Freels. I will try to remember that. Freels. I think you have a Sean already. We've got several Seans, not just in the group, but also fan-wise. There's a bunch of Seans. Leroy, yeah, Sony finally going to release Fright Night on Blu-ray in the U.S. Again, they were releases in the U.S. They were just limited releases. People didn't get them. People didn't want to pay those prices, so on and so forth. But I did. Or rather, my wife got them for me when they were both released. And then you can get the documentary online from the company that makes it. And it's a fantastic documentary. Not just talking about the original Fright Night, but Fright Night 2 and the remake of Fright Night. So. Where? So as I said, folks, once we get a little more thick, a few more people jumping in here, I'll start busting out on the main topic, which is why am I so obsessed with the 1980s? And it'll be great to interact with you guys about it too. If you still love the 80s or haven't been able to let go, and follow me and enjoy all that stuff. I don't know what I'm talking about. And then I'll answer these questions. I'm sorry, I keep looking over here. I've got the Tough Turf. Yes, James Spader, Robert Downey Jr. Hell yeah, I've seen it. I know Kino is going to be putting out a Blu-ray. Do I know that? Or is it already out? I don't know. I'll probably get it. I like Tough Turf. It's silly. It's not meant to be silly, but I think it's silly. All those movies back then, those gritty street punk movies, Class of 1984, Class of 1999, Savage Streets, all that stuff. It's silly, but I love it. I love it all. We got that Freels. How's that? The Saved by the Bell show you guys did was awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, for those who don't know, we've got that new episode of Saved by the Bell, Crept from the 80s, Saved by the Bell, where we just yap about us loving Saved by the Bell when we first watched it, all that good stuff. It's down on the channel. Check it out. Talk with us. We're still giant fans of Saved by the Bell. Larry Shepard! Larry, hello! 80s is the shit. You're damn right. You're damn right. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm here. Yes, Leroy, Savage Streets. Linda in particular in that movie. Oh my goodness. From the first time you see her in that film, walking down that street, sauntering, bouncing down that street. Yes. I'm pervy. That's offensive in this day and age, right? You can't enjoy things like that because everybody has something wrong with it. Music. Yeah, everything, Larry. Everything. Pop culture in general from the 80s. I mean, that's what it's all about. Let me put this over here. Yeah, as I said, why I'm so in love with the 1980s. That is the theme. Why am I obsessed with the 1980s? We will get there. Freels. Lethal Weapon. For sure. No thank you, David Carradine. Let me just say this. I have an issue. I think I talked about it before, but I don't like old people trying to do action shit. It just doesn't appeal to me. It never has, never will. So, yes, Leroy, Linda has definitely lost any ounce of curve she ever had, unfortunately. But that's okay. People change. I've lost a lot of my curves as well. You know who lost curves, unfortunately, is Jennifer Connelly. Man, giant crush on that woman. Most certainly around the time of Career Opportunities, if you know what I mean. Oh my God. And she, she went the way of Hollywood stereotypes and the way that women are supposed to look in Hollywood. So sticks, boobless. Hello, Greg. What is up? I am up. I am rigid with excitement to see all you guys popping in and joining me for this weekly live chat. As I said before in the opening, I have grown to really, really enjoy these live shows, and that's why I'm making it weekly. And if I happen to skip a week, then it'll be the next week. But weekly or bi-weekly, I'll be here. I just hope we get some new peeps in, man. I love all the same folks, but, you know, supposedly we have, I think, 365 subscribers now. Come on. You know, I know with the YouTube thing and the algorithms and all that stuff, and they're keeping a lot of people aren't seeing the shows dropping or even knowing that anything new is coming up. I get that, but you know, that's a shame. Silo Legacy. Yes, we are gonna try to do weekly live shows for sure. I'm really enjoying it, and as somebody who is trying to up their happiness and get the groove back, as it were, I really appreciate talking with you guys every week, and it's a real pleasure. If you build it, they will come. Yeah, I am coming, and you can see what I'm in heaven, right? I'm coming in the gym. I'm coming when I'm doing surfing. I'm coming when I'm making breakfast. I'm coming when I'm, squeezing orange juice, the orange and the glasses, and I'm coming so you can see why I'm in heaven, right? Feels. I'm trying to get new people to tune in. Thank you. Whatever. Any support is great. Come on by the channel. Check out all this stuff. There's something for everybody. If you're a geek, I guess. Maybe not everybody. We love, we don't have a game show, like video games, but that's okay. There's a lot of that. I mean, all of this stuff is out there. It's just, if you happen to like our personalities and who we are as people, then thank you for sticking around and watching us do this. Greg, this is Punky. Brendan. Punky. Mahoney. Yes, this is Punky behind me. It's just consistency and repetition. At least that's how it felt when I had my Twitch channel. Yeah, the more content we've got, the more, I think the more stuff will get out there and the more people will see it. And, when I first started the channel a couple years ago, I didn't really care about any of that stuff. Really, it was just a place for me to throw up some silly videos, stupid videos, and talk about shit I wanted to talk about. Even before that, it was more of a low-budget pictures place to just throw up trailers and stuff like that. But when it got more and more into, really wanting to interact with people, then I gave a little more shit as far as getting the word out. But I appreciate everyone who comes by and chats, and it's awesome. Randy Kaiser, Asian Bluesman. Hello there. Hello, Randy. How are you? Thank you for popping in. Hopefully you're a fan of the channel or have seen some of the shows or want to talk about this geeky stuff. Freels. Have I talked about Howard the Duck? I actually just did on my second part movie collection video, which will be going up next week. I did talk about Howard the Duck because it is in my collection. But I'll talk about it right now. I love Howard the Duck. I don't care. People can hate it. People can love it. I love it. I have since I was a kid. And I always will. I still enjoy it. I've got that Blu-ray. Hell yeah. Siler, have I seen the new Stranger Things trailer? Yeah, the trailer... I mean, they just keep putting out these little teasers. We probably won't get a full-on trailer until... let's see. Maybe April or May, probably. Full-on trailer. Since it's coming out July 4th. But I'm excited. Hell yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be good. Thank you. Little Michael McDonald snuck in there. He was tickling my prunes. So yeah, I mean, folks, I guess we can get it going. Um, the main topic, but again, ask questions, whatever they may be. Let's wrap. But on these live shows, I like to pick like a main topic, a little topic to theme it out, plot it out, and then branch off of. Taking it to the street. Yeah. That's right, Greg. He's in us all. Michael McDonald is lurking everywhere. He is everywhere. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I keep forgetting. What is that VHS thing you're sitting in? I love it. Is it a blanket? This is a blanket, folks. Yes, this is a throw blanket um, with a bunch of VHS tapes on it that my dear friend Meredith Host got for me. I think 2017, something like that. Randy says Howard the Duck still ruins. Should it get a remake? Um, I mean, I don't. It's I love it. I love that film. Should it get a remake? I don't know. If I mean people are interested. I know, Howard was a big deal again because they relaunched the Marvel line, the comic, which the movie is based on from back in the day. But they relaunched that, and then they threw James Gunn threw him at the very end of Guardians of the Galaxy, or one of those. He's in the cage. He's in one of the cages, and then he talks in at the end of one of those movies. Anyway, whatever. We'll see. I guess we'll see what happens with those. If they decide to take Howard in any sort of new direction. I don't know. I'd be up for it. But I love that old movie. Larry, I just came upon a VHS copy of 1981's Funhouse by Tobe Hooper. Have you seen it? Hell yeah, I've seen it. I've owned the Blu-ray twice. uh, and I've sold it twice, unfortunately. But I love the movie. I think it's great. Great atmosphere. Great mongoloid creature. Freak in it. Yeah, I think it's a great circus slasher creature movie. I think it's a lot of fun. Siler, great find from Meredith. Randy, cool. Larry, Funhouse. Yep. Hell yeah. So, why am I so in love with the 80s? Why am I obsessed with the 80s? Um, my reason is probably the same as many folks out there who grew up in the 80s. It was a magical time. It was a simpler time. It was a ridiculously creative and imaginative time, and everything that I mean, we. I'm going to say that pretty much, even parts of the 90s, certainly through the 2000s and on, everything we are now is because of the things that happened in the 1980s, the pop culture explosion and the explosion of imagination. And we, as in folks who were, be it born in the 70s like I was, or be it born in the early 80s, whatever it is, we kids who grew up in the 80s, it was a I mean, we were spoiled. It was a and we didn't know it then because it just was. You know what I mean? everything was new. Everything was happening right then. And we were there to experience it, and it was glorious. It was just a pile upon pile of new, imaginative and creative and wild things happening. Fashion, music, toys, television, movies. The landscape of the day was just a crazy. I mean, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. Those 10 years were just glorious, and they were my, formative years. 1980. So I was 3 years old in 1980. My entire childhood was the 1980s. I was just going into my teens when the 80s were ending, and it was the most beautiful, fertile time. The Saturday morning television, the cartoons, the food, the cereals, all part of what made that decade amazing. It was the rituals that we did, the going outside and enjoying and adventuring and creating with friends and riding your bikes and being out all hours of the night until the street lights went on. It just, and I guess I could say that this is true for any person in their certain decade, is that they love that particular decade because of whatever. We just seemed to be, because we were kids, we seemed to be in simpler times. Um, and I certainly think that I was blessed to grow up in that time. Um, yeah, I mean, and there's a giant portion of nostalgia connected to it. Again, anybody's growing up childhood years, they're going to have some sort of affinity for, an affection for. But there's something different about this group, our group, born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s, people who now are in their 40s, man children. We seem to have much more of a yearning and a longing to hold on to that part of our life. Be be it because it was simpler, because it was so fun, and because of the things that were happening all around us, the pop culture landscape. Uh, that shaped for me, who I am as a human, as an individual. Um, the things that were happening just shaped who I am as a person, and I've never let that go. And I feel like I never need to let that go. There's no reason to let that go. I have never grown up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. I'm more of a KB Hills kid, but you know what I'm saying. And I don't think there's a need to. I never felt there was a need to. I always hung on to that childlike wonder and awe, and I still do in my 40s. I'm not going to let it go. It's part of what helps bring me joy now in this day and age, because this day and age is filled with garbage and shit. Okay, I know people have been asking stuff, and I will get there. I'm sorry, folks. I did want to get on that subject, though. Silo Legacy. I like the resurgence of 80s inspired synthwave. I also like the fashion aesthetics. It's iconic and simple. You are correct. And bring on the synthwave. Keep pushing that synthwave. Anything 80s like that, I glom onto and I try to hold on to, because it just, one, it's rad. Two, it takes me back to that time, and it just fills all the memory holes, and makes them all tingle and gets the nippies rock. Freels, chick's hairstyle with the puffy thing in the front was hot. I totally dig it. I totally love it. I agree. I loved big hair. That was the thing. The Aquanet, it was everywhere. girls looking like Madonna, all that stuff. That was hot. And when I see it today, girls emulating that, I think it's great. I always want my wife to do that when we dress up or get all 80s. Man, a few years ago when I was turning 40, my wife, the whole gang gave me a huge 80s party. And they all got into it and they did the big hair and everything. And woo, woo, love it, love it. Siler, I especially love the dystopian futurescapes that the 80s created. Well, it was you know, that was the whole cyberpunk. The future is now, you know? Like their future was so unique, unique. And then when you're looking at it, when you look back at it now, it's still the future of the 80s. It's their perception of the future, which still is so aesthetically 80s, which is fantastic. Um, Randy, it was a fun and super great era of our time and the beginning of what to come in the near future. It was, as I said, everything today is aping everything that happened in the 80s. Things flourished. Things are flourishing today because of things that were started, created, invented in the 80s. Um, you know, and I'm not just talking the Cold War and all that stuff and the politics and that crap, because we as kids didn't give a shit about that stuff. And I'm sure there were people scared to bits. There was the day after thing that happened. I remember that, and people kind of flipping out about nuclear war and everything. But for the most part, it was a much simpler time. Brian, what's your thoughts on the Masters of the Universe movie that's in the works? That would be a great theater experience if done right. I'll get that. I'll get to that. Randy, do you remember what is... Do you remember... Where are we? Randy, do you remember what Streetlights came out? You had to be home laughing out loud? I remember the streetlights coming on. um, for sure, and I remember our neighborhood. All the neighborhood kids played with each other, and but almost every parent. I lived with my grandparents and my great aunt, but you always heard for your name. Once it started getting dark, and then you asked. At least I did. I asked to stay out a little bit longer, at least with my very close neighborhood friends, because I had buddies on the left side of our house straight down the road. They were like, we had some great friends that were just constantly doing stuff, and we were trying to stay out as long as we could. Greg, the 80s were definitely the decade of high bangs. Hell yeah. Love them bangs. Greg, Ocean Pacific shirts, slap bracelets. For sure. I love all that stuff, but it's just what it was, and I don't know. Growing up in it, I thought it was cool, and looking back at it, I think it's cool. I know a lot of people now, there's a lot of people, adults now, who look back at the 80s, who lived in the 80s and said, ew, what were we thinking, or why would I ever want to go back to that? Balderdash, chicanery, what kind of buffoonery is that? You don't know how good you had it. Hello, David. Thank you for joining us. David, we're talking about why am I so obsessed with the 1980s? So let me get back to that one question, Brian, I believe. Wait. Siler, but the Netflix She-Ra cartoon was surprisingly well done. I agree. I love the new She-Ra cartoon. I thought it was great. Um, uh, Brian, I believe, asked about what are my thoughts on the new Masters of the Universe movie. Well, listen, this movie has been in development since the early 2000s. I cannot understand why they're having such a hard time with bringing He-Man to the screen. Boggles my mind. In fact, I don't know why they have a hard time bringing a lot of these properties to the screen, but you can, I mean, mark my words, it's coming. I mean, they've been off and on different directors and writers for years. Whether or not this group now is going to stick, we shall see. But you can guarantee that the new Masters of the Universe movie is going to come to the big screen. It is happening. There is no doubt. And more 80s properties are coming. Believe me, you know I'm flipping out for the Mask movie that's coming. And I pray to Crom, Odin, whoever, Crom, that it actually 100% comes to fruition. Because it can be iffy. People, there's announcements, official announcements all the time about shit like that. And sometimes it just doesn't happen. It doesn't fully come to fruition. But man, am I hoping that Mask comes to fruition. I want my Mobile Armored Strike Command with a K. John, hello John, woo! Randy, sorry for the typos. No problem, Randy. No problem. I'm just glad more people are here to enjoy the magic. So I mentioned being an adult and how crappy today's society is, and that's another reason why I think me and like-minded folk of our age still kind of obsess and hold on to the 1980s and our childhoods is because it was a fun, great, simple, happy time. And living in a world that is so split and fucked up and not so fun, you gotta find those joys where you can. And part of my joy in life is staying connected to the 1980s, staying connected to my childhood. As you have seen before on all these videos, you've heard me say it before, I truly have never let it go. Even when the 90s was happening, when the 90s was in full swing, I just was still, I was 80s, man. I was Chris 80s Seaver. I couldn't let it go. It just was, it's a part of me. Certainly in the 2000s, and then I guess they call it the 2010s or what have you. There hasn't, for me, there has, and I've, relatively been here a short time on this earth, but nothing has come even close to the 1980s as far as pop culture and relevance to me and my life. That's for sure. So it is very important. Holding on, man. Holding on to my dying day. I'm gonna soak myself in it. And listen, I enjoy things of today. I do. There are some rad things happening. We are living in a golden age of geekery. And being a geek, my whole life, it is a cornucopia of mischief. It's all so fun and great and magical. So I'm not going to say that there's not, I'm not one of those people who can't live in the now. But if I had my chance, if I had a choice, I would relive the 80s for sure. Or at least I would have a time machine, go back and visit the 80s anytime I wanted to. Bring back some toys, bring back some food, bring back that feeling. Go watch some movies as I did back then. Watch myself watching those movies in the theaters. Magic times. Siler, maybe relevancy. The She-Ra cartoon definitely helped with that, though. I'm sure I don't get it. Freels, did Tiger Sharks ever make toys? I think they did, but I wasn't a Tiger Shark fan. Brian, I loved as a kid in the 80s having to seek stuff out, like finding that VHS rental you waited for over a year for. the toys, other kids to play with outside, so much adventure. That's true. Um, I mean, as I said, everything was new. Everything was happening now at that time. There weren't, I mean, you think about how easy things are today. Um, it was we didn't have any of that, so it was part of the thrill of it. It was part of the adventure and the hunt of being a kid back then, and certainly not really knowing, not wanting to know, not having that chance to even see certain things. It was all a surprise. It was all happening right then. Um, Part of the magic, my friend. Part of the magic. Randy, my friend Sean Friels has turned me onto your channel, and you're doing a super great job. And thanks for getting my brain restarted on the best memories of my life. Randy, no problem, man. And thanks Friels for hooking you up. Keep watch the shows on the channel. Hopefully you dig them. But that's part of why I love talking with like-minded folk, is to get your memories, get your what was it like for you growing up back then? Did we have similar tastes? Because I found that there's a lot of similarities to my growing up with a lot of people I know um, in my personal life as well. Like it just was the way it was, and people had similar experiences, and I enjoy that. I think that's cool. Like there'll never be another decade like it. There never will. It was a special decade. So. Greg, although they were decades apart, how cool would a Goonies Stranger Things crossover have been? Sure, man. But, in some instances, in some ways, if you look at it a certain way, Stranger Things is the Goonies of today. I mean, it's just, you know, there's so many aspects of that film that are in so many aspects of things today, aping the 1980s. So, Goonies never say die. Goonies never will die. The Goonies are with us all. Siler, are you gonna have a funeral like James Halliday? um, imagine, imagine it. I don't know. Hopefully, I don't know. I want to live until I'm at least 102, 103, 104. Why not? Uh, so hopefully my soul can be bouncing around at a sweet party as well, looking at my, this crude matter, as Yoda would say. Luminous beings are we. Randy, when you build your time machine, let me know. I'm buying the first ticket. I think a lot of people would come along. Man, listen, I'm all for us getting out there to Mars and everything. I know we're trying to do that. Elon Musk and SpaceX and all that fascinating stuff. It's fascinating. And as I've said before, we are literally in space now, a bunch of nothings floating on a giant rock. So it's all fascinating. But science, hurry up. I know you're busy doing other things, but make that goddamn time machine already. Forget the consequences. I want to go back. But that's what all this is for. That's what recollecting, that's what rewatching the memories. It's taking us back, folks. Stay connected, and you can always go back. Every time you look at a toy, pick up a toy, watch a movie, TV show, cartoon from back then, play a board game, read a book about the 80s, all that stuff. You're going back, and you're bringing those sweet, sweet memories with you the best way we can. Leroy Green. There was no YouTube, so for video games and movie news, you had to learn through magazines and or TV. While I like getting lots of info, but it's also nice to get everything so spoon-fed in terms of trailers, etc. True, man. True. I wish we could go back to that time. I really do. And I get asked that all the time. Could you do it? Could you let go of this, that, and the other thing that we have, Madrin? And I'm like, fuck yeah, I could. I really could. We did it. We lived with it for so. We lived without these things for so long. There's a magic to that, man. A real magic that is lost today. Um, I don't know. As Crom is my witness, I got to tell you, like, there are times, and I've said this before, but I definitely am a crier. I cry at movies. I cry at certain things that just get me, and it's mostly to do with genre, geeky stuff. Certainly my family and my friends and all that stuff. But what I mean is, like, I still cry at a lot of the shit that I cried at growing up or throughout the years, the entertainment and whatnot. But sometimes when I am thinking about the 80s or my childhood, sometimes when I'm even watching, because I do these things called Saturday morning sleepovers, where I host an event in my home theater every few months, a year, where I invite as many people as possible. Usually, I can fit about 15 people in the room down there in the home theater. But anyway, so this Saturday morning sleepover, we do all it is I program nothing but it's about 10 hours, sometimes 12 of 80s commercials, 80s cartoons, 80s TV, all edited together. And I do it all up myself. And then, like-minded people come to this event and we snack down, we eat what we ate when we were kids, we dress in pajamas, and it's an all day till the night, till late night event. Uh, Saturday morning sleepover, and it's been amazing. But when I'm programming these events and putting these shows together, there are times where I cannot stop myself from having tears running down my face. And it's the nostalgia, it's the happiness, it's the memories. It's just kind of being blown away by how good we had it, how awesome that stuff was, and how today we are still trying to ape it. It's very emotional for me. The connection is thick, it's strong. The force don't stop till you get enough. You know what I'm saying? Um, Siler, what are the popcorn and snack prices at your theater? Downstairs. It's free, brother. You know, we stock the downstairs, and it's just people come and they make their popcorn, they grab their treats. We have the fridge down there, so anyone can grab drinks or whatever. Certainly for the Saturday morning sleepover, I mean, I end up spending like 75, $80 on snacks and drinks and food for everybody when they come. But it's a blast. It's a blast. Leroy Green, when was the first Saturday morning sleepover or the genesis of it? The first one was 2016. I think it was 2016. It was the end of 2016. And it really was. It was just. I think it started because I was kind of tired of getting up and always changing, like, because I frequently still, I mean, like I said, I still watch everything that I did in the 80s. So I have 80s stuff on DVD or old VHS and this, that, and the other. And I would get up and I'd change things if I wanted to watch a certain show or cartoon from back then. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to make my own, like, mix so that I have these long play discs just put in and just have them go. And then I thought it would be cool to add the commercials. And then after I did like the first disc, I was just like, I bet people would think I bet people would like this. So I, put together a small group and said, "Listen, I don't know if you'd be into this, but would you want to come to my place and watch nothing but 80s TV, Saturday morning kid stuff, afternoon kid stuff, for a day?" And that first one we got, I think, 5 people. Um, and then it's just grown from there. And we can't fit everybody. At some point, I think I'm gonna do one of the events at like a local geek place that we know of here in Rochester, and put up a screen and do it that way, so that we can get a few more people in there. Maybe even do a whole theater thing. Now we're not gonna fill the whole theater, but you know what I'm saying, like get more like-minded people, because right now my basement home theater can only fit, and 15 is pushing it. That's pushing it. So, but we've had so many people want to do it. I'm actually considering having certain fans come out to experience a Saturday morning sleepover. So maybe 3 or 4 special lucky fans that I invite to come out to be a part of one of the events, just so they can be a part of it, you know. Hey, novidade, novidade. Um, what does the wife think of your intense love of the '80s? Uh, I mean, I think she thinks, for the most. First, let's say this: my wife is a geek. She's a different. I mean, we share our love of Star Wars, Doctor Who, and certain geeky things, certain properties. But her bag is video games. I certainly love the games that I had growing up, and I enjoy playing them now. But I am not a gamer. My wife and my kid are. So there's a lot of geek stuff throughout the house. If you watch our home tour, a lot of that stuff is ours. It's our stuff, and she loves all that stuff having being around. But she is 9 years younger than me. Um, so her experience was growing up in the '90s. So that's far more her speed, her aesthetic, her where her childhood lies. And while she certainly loves things from the '80s, um, I don't know. I gotta be to be honest. She doesn't really give a shit. To be honest, uh, I think sometimes she can be like, "Well, why do you want to get this?" Or why, or what does this mean to you? How does this matter? And she wants me to explain it to her, with a certain '80s property or thing or toy, or trying to recollect this or that or the other thing. But after I explain it, and after I say, well, you're the same way with games, I think she totally gets it. She gets it. She just doesn't share the. She doesn't have those connections or those emotions to it. Um, and we've done a Saturday morning sleepover where I've done a '90s event, and she of course enjoyed that more than the '80s stuff. I don't know. I think it just different times, but she doesn't. I mean, she definitely doesn't give me shit for it. So, Leroy Green, yeah, man, come on up. I will invite you. I am inviting you. Come up for a Saturday morning sleepover. Greg, what is your go-to concession when you go to the movies? I don't know. I'm not a giant popcorn person. I like it all right, but it's not a huge thing for me. Um, I used to really love nachos, but growing up, it was always like a like a cherry coke and Twizzlers. So from time to time, because I can't do that, being my age, I can't indulge every time like that when I go to the movies because I go a lot. Um, but I certainly do every Saturday morning sleepover. But so I really love those classic. I like cherry Coke. Twizzlers. Yeah, I like. Now I guess I like the Bunch of Crunch. I like peanut M&Ms, things like that. Downstairs, I always make sure I've got all those things that I love. And my wife is I'm a Twizzlers guy, and my wife is a Red Vines girl. So, Leroy, yeah. I mean, come on, it's not that bad at all. The drive, I go down to that area a lot because of conventions and things like that, and you just do it if you want it bad enough. It's 5 hour drive. Randy, hey, do I have a ColecoVision? I do not. I remember my uncles having ColecoVision. We had the Atari 2600. And then when Nintendo came out, we got the Nintendo. We didn't get it with Robbie the Robot. Um, but we did get it with the gun. We got it with Duck Hunt and Mario and all that stuff. And then I did get Sega Genesis in '89. We got the Game Boy, which I didn't want, which I talk about in the Christmas episodes. Um, and then ultimately I got the Super Nintendo in 91, 92, whatever. And then, and I had my games that I loved for each of those systems, but I just wasn't a big gamer then or now. And I enjoy replaying those certain games that I loved on those consoles, which we have. Um, but I was as much as I did, as much as I was a TV kid, I also was an outdoor kid, man. As you may not know, but I am also a filmmaker, and I've been making movies since I was 7 years old. It's 1984. So I was out a lot making stupid movies, backyard movies, lots of Freddy and Jason flicks with the neighborhood kids, and just being silly, man. Going on adventures. We would reenact movies that we loved. Me, my cousins, our neighborhood friends. Um, but ain't nothing wrong with gaming. Nothing wrong with gaming. Friels. All I worried about in the 80s was cartoons and toys. Now I have endless things I worry about. That's right. That's another thing. That's another great thing. Simpler times, man. As an adult, you're constantly worrying. I am constantly worrying about things. More so since I'm a dad. Uh, I am a father to another human being, and that, I mean, you know, I go to bed every night worrying about something. And that sucks, man. That sucks. Kids have it so good, and we definitely had it better. I'm always trying to tell my son, like, cool down, bro. Like, enjoy being 11. Don't want to grow up so fast. You don't want to grow up so fast. Believe me. Leroy Green, thanks. 5 hours isn't too bad. I'll just have to have an 80s music playlist as I drive. That's right, man. Hey, I'm not joking, Leroy Green, 85. Come on up. I do these several times a year, these events. The next one is at the end of the month. Which I will, yes, folks, I will be recording some of, and you will finally see what it's like during a Saturday morning sleepover. I will be putting it up. 90210, no, you're here. Hello. Well, say by the bell stuff. Yes, send us pics. Hello. Glad you're here. Randy, cool. Randy, okay, super cool. Keep talking, folks. I'm going to go pee real quick, but this is just going to keep rocking. I tend to do this every live show. I have a very small bladder. There's magic in the metal. There's magic in us all. Heavy metal. Oh, no metal at all. Wimps and posers, leave the hall. I'm back.
I'm gonna have some more of my dark chocolate with almonds.
All right. So, those are just a few things of why I love the 1980s. And I will continue to. And I will continue to get things that I had growing up in the 80s that helped me retain those memories. I finally, I don't know if it'll happen, but I really laid it into her. My great aunt, who I grew up with, my great aunt and my great grandparents lived in the same house. They have tons and tons and tons of pictures of me from the 80s, growing up. And they are so stingy. They won't. It's like if they think if they give them to me, they're never going to see those pictures again. When all I want to do is get those pictures, make copies, and then give them back to them. But all these pictures that I want, I told my aunt, I was like, when I see you coming up, I'm going to see them. You bring those damn pictures. There's albums upon albums. I want them. They are gateways to back then. They help me remember. They help me keep those memories alive. So I want them. I know there's birthdays, there's Christmases, there's all that stuff. Okay. Let's see. David, have you seen Summer of '84 yet? So I started it. I've seen about, I want to say a half hour of it. So far, I'm not that impressed. But we'll see. I'm not going to make a full-on judgment until I see the whole thing, but so far it's not really doing anything for me, and it doesn't make me feel like they nailed that time period. Like when I saw, I mean, just the trailer for when Stranger Things season 1 was coming out, just the trailer like hit me like a ton of bricks. Hit me, I mean, Peter North was straight shooting in my face with nostalgia with that trailer. And then the show didn't disappoint. They were doing it right. Which is insane because those brothers, the Duffer brothers, are only in their 30s. So it's not like they fully grew up in the 80s, but they grew up with that content. They were shown that content. They had great parents. So, 90210, thought you were about to break out the Bill Cosby impression.
What's up?
Leroy Green, whatever happened to Jello Pudding Pops? You're damn right. Guess what? Listen to this story. This is a fun story about Jello Pudding Pops. Who didn't love Jello Pudding Pops? They were delicious. They were amazing. You love those Bill Cosby Jello commercials, the Pudding Pops. You had that little frozen layer around them that you just scraped off. They were magical. Well, around 2000, I think I've told this story before, but maybe you don't know. So listen up. around 2000, I want to say 2010, maybe 2009. Um, there's a kindred spirit in our group. We have a large group, the extended family, I call them, the people I make movies with for years and years and years, but they are my, I love them dearly. They are my family. They are my extended family. So this group, one of them in particular, Meredith Host, and I share an affinity for Jello pudding pops. And so throughout the years, we've always talked about Jello pudding pops. And then this one random time, we were all together to shoot a movie, and we went out to get, food for the group. So we wanted to stay on the cheap, so we went to Aldi's. And so we're in Aldi's, and Meredith, I hear Meredith down the row a little bit, and I hear her gasp, like audibly. And at first I was like, what, did something happen? Did she fall or something like that? So we go down the aisle, and she's like, Chris, Chris, Chris. And she opens up the freezer in Aldi's, and there were Jello pudding pops. Now this was in 2009. And we bought pretty much every box that Aldi's had. Stuffed it in my freezer. And ultimately, Meredith and I ended up getting stomach aches that during a couple of days of the shooting because we just kept eating those. It was like hoarding. We just couldn't believe that they did it. That they were. It was the box. It was the ice layer. Everything. It was there. It was the Jello pudding pops. And then they were gone. And then it was over. It was like there for like 6 months, and then it was gone. And it's just, they're not out there. The Jello brand Jello pudding pops are not available. But that was like a weird, like, what is going on? This is amazing. So that's a story. Randy, one of my favorite things at 1985 was an ice cone. It was canned, a Foxfire, very simple. It was Singer water with vanilla flavoring poured over ice cone. So simple, so special to me. Are you talking about... Yeah, the typos are all weird, Randy. I'm sorry. Are you talking about, like, snow cones? Friels, for some reason you had to eat a Reese's. You're damn right you had to. Get thick with that Reese's. 90210. Where's the Oingo Boingo t-shirt? It's in my dresser. I still wear it. Don't you worry. I gotta get myself some more. Oingo Boingo is my favorite band. Siler Legacy. That's awesome, but I could go for some Ecto Coolers. Everybody could go for some Ecto Coolers. Now listen, folks. I've said this time and time again. Yes, it was amazing that in 2016 they brought back the Ecto Coolers. It was amazing. And I've kept both a box and a can. But Ecto Cooler is not gone. Remember, Ecto Cooler is not gone. Maybe the box, maybe the images are gone. But the drink itself, what it tastes like, the color, it is not gone. Well, the color is gone. But if you just add some green food coloring, the color's there. So you can go into any of your grocery store and pick up Juicy Juice Orange Tangerine. It is Ecto Cooler. What's good about it, certainly at somebody my age, with the sweets and the sugar, it's not as sugary as the High C Ecto Cooler. But you better damn well believe it is the same thing. Orange Tangerine Juicy Juice, folks. Grab it. What I do is I get it, I put it in a glass, or I put it in little plastic bottles, and then I made my own, I printed out my own Ecto Cooler wrappers, and I wrap it around it, and I put a little green food coloring in it, and it's Ecto Coolers. I do it for parties as well. But it's the same shit, brother. Leroy Green. I also noticed certain things taste different now, like Nestle Quick, the Entenmann's cookies, Breyer's cookies, and cream ice cream all tasted great as a kid. Now they changed it. Absolutely, the recipes have certainly changed. I mean, it's like that with the cereals, and I think I've talked about this before too. But they changed so many of the cereals we loved, the recipes, and when you get back into it, you're kind of you have that weird like, well, you think you know what it tasted like when you were a kid, but as an adult, you know that you're tasting something different. It doesn't quite taste like what it used to. And that's because they did. So many of them changed recipes. Well, what's great about the cereal companies, at least, is that if there's enough complaining, they will go back to their original recipes because that's what people love. And you don't want those sales to dip. They recently did that with Trix, with Cocoa Puffs. They did it with there's another one that I talked about it before, but they did it. They fucked with the recipe, and eating it again was not the greatest. It was like chemically. It just didn't taste right. But anyway, a good handful of those cereals that we loved growing up have gone back to the original recipes, and I've gotten, and sure enough, they're back to tasting like they used to, which is fantastic. Certainly for somebody like me. Something that's a little sad is that I, growing up, was a giant fan of the Monster cereals, and every year I still go out and get them, but they did change those recipes. Thankfully, for Count Chocula, which is my favorite of the cereals, I don't mind the newer taste to Count Chocula. I don't. I still think it's good. There are remnants of the original taste, and that alone can take me back. So, because remember, folks, you could readily get the Monster cereals. They weren't a seasonal thing. They were just out. You could get them. They didn't start becoming seasonal until 2010, which is a travesty. Silent Legacy. I know the YouTube channel Healthy Junk Food reverse engineered and created a homemade version of Ecto Coolers. Well, again, you don't need to, because it's straight up Ecto Cooler. Juicy juice, orange tangerine. You'll thank me for it. Midnight Owl. Midnight Owl, hello, huzzah! Greetings, Midnight Owl. I'm so glad you're here. Friels, Apple Jacks, and Sugar Smacks. All that shit, man. All that stuff's good. That's another thing we do at the Saturday morning sleepover, is that we have a variety of cereals, kid cereals that we would have eaten back in the day. We have the bowls, we have the milk. Everyone goes through bowls of cereal when we do the Saturday morning sleepovers. And then the snacks. And then we usually top it off with pizza at the end, or during the dinner portion of the marathon. Because as kids, man, we wrecked pizza. Loved pizza. Still love pizza. Doritos, Cool Ranch, cheese puffs, cheese balls, all that shit. And those are back too, the Planters cheese balls. Midnight Owl, yes, when Cinnamon Toast Crunch had 3 bakers. That's right. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Yeah, man. We had it so good. We had it so good. Now we're old. But not me. I'm young at heart. I'm turning 42 this year. I'm the youngest 42-year-old I know. And that's true. Well, I've got a lot of friends that are in their 40s that still are man-children, that are still children inside. But I've also seen a lot of dudes my age who look like they're 56, Like, oof. Got to keep that youth, man. Got to stay young at heart. That's how you keep your visage alive, keep it fresh. Midnight Owl, noticed your elf sexiest face on Earth cover. The first I ever bought. That's right. Right there. Yep. That's the comic. It's just hanging on the wall. Siler. Anyways, I'm out. Always great seeing you, Chris. Till next time. Well, thank you, Siler. Thank you for joining us. Again, I hope you come around next week. Nine out 210. Don't worry, my friend. It'll be 80s again in 61 years' time. It's 80s again now. It's 80s again in here, and here, and then here, and then there, and over there, and there, and these. It's always 80s for me, man. Always 80s. You know? I'm gonna be in my 80s, regaling stories about the 80s, tall tales about the 80s. I'm gonna be watching Who's the Boss? Angela, Who's the Boss? I'm gonna be Jonathan. I'm gonna be watching that. I'm gonna be watching Growing Pains, all that stuff. I'm gonna be watching Snorks, the Pac-Man, Hanna-Barbera cartoon, Thundar. It's all magic. I'm gonna be watching all that shit. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Family Ties. Sha-la-la-la. Never ending. I mean, I watch I watch something 80s pretty much every single day. Insane. That's Punky Brewster. Punky. 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 Midnight Owl, is there any love for the sectors? You damn right there is. In fact, I've got some sectors over there. Midnight Owl, you should check out my room tour, home theater tour video that's on the channel. And check out all the other shows on our channel. It's all fun, geeky nostalgia. But yes, I love the sectors. I'm trying to recollect things that I had growing up. Not full lines. Well, although I am trying to re-get all of my Return of the Jedi figures, but sectors is part of that grouping. So I've got a couple sectors still. I used to have probably 10 different sectors figures plus their bugs, the awesome puppet bugs that you could fly around and they would, you know, and I got comic books as well. But yes, sectors, they were dope, man. Never had the Hive. Never had the Hive. Their playset. Huge playset. Now it goes for like $400. I do know that Mean Gene died. It was a bummer, and I said so on my posts. I'm not a hardcore wrestling fan, but as you know, and as some of you may know, and some of you may not know, I did enjoy certain aspects of wrestling growing up. It was a part of my growing up. Wrestling was a huge deal in the 80s. So after the cartoons, wrestling would come on. WWF would come on. So would Glow, which I enjoyed both of. And there's aspects of both that I loved. I loved Glow more because it was far more skitty. I loved the skits. I loved that stuff. But I do have my favorites in the WWF. Mean Gene was a giant part of that. Mean Gene, everything. Mean Gene. I just hear it in my head. I hear Hulk's just saying Mean Gene. I hear Macho Man saying Mean Gene. I hear Roddy saying Mean Gene. Roddy, as you may know, 90210 is my favorite WWF wrestler. Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper. I still want to get back my LJN Roddy Piper figure. I would like it carded, but it would, you know, I'll take it loose, complete with his kilt. Midnight Owl. Yes, the puppet fighter bugs were dope. They sure were. Midnight Owl. Glow was a glorious freak show. Love Glow. Still love Glow. Love the new show Glow. The beautiful loving homage. It was great. The best was Madam Kitty trying to pimp out Hollywood and Dave always turning her down. Dave. The show, I mean, Mount Fiji, that whole, all of that was just beautiful, glorious, glorious stuff. I really appreciate that that some of the girls are still out there doing their thing. You know, some of them are still actually wrestling. And I know, oh, Hogan did a nice tribute to Mean Gene on Raw, mentioned Rowdy. That's awesome. Yeah, any wrestling that I watch is all still like 80s wrestling, and it's mostly like 15-minute snippets, you know, from their Saturday night 2-hour block or whatever.
Mm.
Yes, Midnight Out. Yes, Tina Fry is in the WWE Hall of Fame, the only one to win the Glow Crown and the WWE Women's Divas title. Yes, yes. What I loved about those 80s wrestlers and the Glow Girls is that as much as people didn't, as much as people shat on like, you know, the act itself being fake or whatever, people didn't give them credit for being true performers, true theatrical performers. I mean, these guys, you know, they were overacting, but they were acting. They were putting on a performance. They were giving you caricatures to root for and to cheer or to hate. The heels, all that stuff. I mean, they were fantastic. And Roddy, to me, Roddy was the best because he was just so insane and funny and he made me laugh. And I loved that energy. It was such an odd character for a wrestler. I mean, that again, all of those characters were just larger than life ridiculous, and that's what appealed to me most about wrestling. Not even the act itself. It's just what hijinks, what stupidity, what silliness, how are they going to make me laugh this week? Well, that's what I enjoy about it. That's what I enjoy about WWF in general. 90210. You're damn right I remember Galaxy High. And actually, I have episodes of Galaxy High that are programmed in the Saturday morning sleepovers that I do. My good buddy Bobby Heckman, he and I share the love for Galaxy High. But he actually loves it more than I do. Well, I feel most of that shit went downhill once all that. I mean, once it just started changing. The wrestling thing started changing, and when they had to change their name, I definitely wasn't about it. I've never called them WWE ever. I've always referred to them now, even now in the modern era, as WWF because that's what it's always going to be for me. So. What are we looking at? Yeah, it's almost 8. Not bad, not bad. So we've been doing this about an hour and a half. Okay, okay. I think we'll do this for another hour or so if you guys are up for that. If you guys are into it. You got some more stuff to say. Oh, shit. 1 a.m. there, 90210. Well, thank you for popping on. I appreciate that. Any of you guys over there in the UK who pop on overseas, talk to me this late, I really appreciate it. It's awesome. We've got a few of you guys who pop on every now and again. and it's it's a good feeling to know that you guys care enough to to pop on, even if you already may be up and watching something, or you're night owls anyway. It's nice to know you're at least checking this shit out for a little bit. So thank you. I appreciate that. Midnight Owl. I miss 80s baseball uniforms when everyone had pullover jerseys that were light blue. Um, I mean, I'm not a sports fan at all, so that part of the 80s, sports in general, just wasn't a part of my life. Even though, as a kid, I definitely my family would sort of they'd bait me into doing sports so that I was like a normal kid, because I wasn't a normal kid. But man, did they want me to be. So they would always like entice me. They'd be like, "Well, if you do, if you go out for baseball or little league or whatever, we'll get you this toy, or if you do this, we'll do this." And that's how it was. Um, you know, but that's not who I was. Greg, a favorite 80s memory of mine was the ice cream man. We would hear the bell ringing and get wide eyed and say, "It's the ice cream man." We'd grab some change and run out to the door full sprint. Yep, the ice cream truck was a thing for sure. It wasn't around my neighborhood. When I would go to visit my uncle and cousins in Olean, which was like about 40 minutes away, they had an ice cream truck. So anytime I was over there and we heard that ice cream truck coming around, we definitely, you know, we jumped for joy. Is that even a thing nowadays? Do they still do that? I'm sure somewhere they do. With today's environment and the PC-ness and the scary atmosphere that we're living in, I don't know. Is there? I'm sure there are ice cream men. Midnight Owl, Dickie D ice cream cycles in my town were dope. Leroy Green, I missed back in the 80s to like the 90s where it was prime time to catch a blockbuster movie on network television, like the Sunday night movie. I highly doubt national TV does it unless for like Ten Commandments around Easter. Yeah, that was a big thing for sure when major motion pictures finally went to television. I mean, it happened all the time. I don't think it I mean, it's funny now to even think about cable television. I don't know if it's relevant. It certainly isn't for me, and I haven't had cable in I don't know how long. Um, it's so yeah, it's weird to think about people. I don't think they do that. I mean, now we've got there's those channels that were like TBS and TNT and USA that would play movies like that for sure. AMC, the movie channel, things like that. But yeah, where it was appointment television, where Ghostbusters is coming to TV, Star Wars is coming to TV. That was huge. And TV miniseries were huge. The TV mini movies, you know, multiple night miniseries. Those were awesome. Those were prevalent in the 80s. And my favorite is V, 1983. It was a huge deal. Huge deal for us. Uh, Maybe the Clint Howard Ice Cream Man movie ruined it for everybody. Yeah, David. I think Clint Howard ruins everything for everybody. Ice cream trucks still exist. They just can't make the sound past a certain time. Oh, well that's cool. That's awesome. Midnight Owl. When B movies were acceptable programming on cable. Nowadays, the same six studios own TV and only show studio films or award bait originals. That's for sure. Yes, Leroy Green, the golden age of HBO was definitely the 80s, for sure, hands down. I saw so many things that I shouldn't have seen growing up in the 80s because of HBO. Mm, salacious things. 90210. I like the DVD cover for Carnage for the Destroyer. That's cool. It's not my DVD cover because what would happen is that I would make these movies and then the company that is putting them out they would end up changing any sort of art we wanted to do and they would make it their own, they would make their own art. So Leroy Green, you're damn right. Saw so many Canon films on cable. Heck yeah. Friels, Up All Night with Rhonda and Gilbert. Yep, huge staple of growing up. I actually I tried to put a few Up All Night segments within my Saturday morning sleepover, and I guess people just didn't know what it was or didn't. There were some people that just were kind of bored by it. I don't know, but I was like, man, I loved it. Up All Night was huge. I try to look up HBO promos from the 80s on YouTube. Do you remember the shorts HBO would play in between movies? Yeah, there would be shorts. There would be weird. Um, there would be weird ads for their for their films. There would be HBO made commercials that would air in between a lot of the movies as well. Um, HBO. I mean, all that stuff was special back then, man. Think about MTV. Think about MTV. It was special. You know, Nickelodeon. It was special. It was different. We've, as a society, we've turned those things into poop. Straight up shit on stick. You know? Shit on a shingle. Midnight Owl. The 90s had one thing going for them very good first run syndication action and sci fi TV shows. Hercules, Xena, Witchblade, Jack of all trades. um, yes, some of those, yes, I would agree with. Again, we're gonna do a '90s episode of Crept from the '80s. It'll probably be a special 3-part series, Crept from the '90s, where I will talk about some things that I enjoyed from the '90s and my experience growing up in the '90s as a teen into my young adulthood, my 20s, in the '90s. MTV, Midnight Owl. MTV jumped the shark with Rock the Vote. Nick jumped with Dan Schneider. Oof. Oof. Dan Schneider. Controversial indeed. Yeah, but he was dope and head of the class, man. He was, take away all that diddling. He was great and head of the class. I mean, MTV used to. I don't even know why it's around now. It shouldn't even be called MTV anymore. Really, for sure. Leroy Green, MTV, man, the music videos, VH1 for years wouldn't play rap, etc. Now they play all the. Yes, I mean yeah, I mean MTV and VH1. After MTV started changing so much, the last bastion of hope was VHS. VH1. VH1 was still doing music and music related things after MTV started going downhill. And then VH1 followed suit. That's why I love the Carnage for the Destroyer blind buy just for the cover. I ended up loving it. Thank you, Friels. Midnight Owl. What was your favorite '80s MTV VJ? It was Martha Quinn, of course. Martha Quinn. I liked Adam Curry. Um, you know, when they started doing the MTV News, I liked Kurt Loder, people like that. Um, Ricky Rackman when 120 Minutes came on, and then Headbangers Ball. Those guys would do those back and forth. Those were the days, man. That stuff was fun. Just so different. David, yes. Oof. Leroy Green, you're damn right. Head of the Class needs a DVD release. There's so many '80s properties that still are languishing in limbo. You know, give us Head of the Class. Give us just the 10 of us. You know. Luckily, I have a lot of episodes of those shows on bootleg DVDs. Um, I said it last time. Valerie's the Hogan family. I love that show. You know, I'm lucky I find random episodes of these shows to program into the Saturday morning sleepovers because it's just such a memory blast. It takes you back. They were wonderful shows, man. Why aren't they on DVD? It's so bizarre. And then why do we have one season of fucking Who's the Boss on DVD? One season of Silver Spoons on DVD. That doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. It's, you know, we didn't even get any more seasons other than Perfect Strangers until recently. And that's because you got to get them through like Warner Archive or some bullshit like that. They're available, but it was like 10 years or longer before you got Perfect Strangers season 3. You know, it's just so weird. Leroy Green, yours was Laura Charles. Yeah. She found the place. She finally found that place. Laura Charles. Monday Now, Martha Quinn, JJ, and Downtown Julie Brown. Also, I loved Julie Brown. You guys remember Just Say Julie? Julie Brown. Redhead, big tits, hilarious. She was amazing. I loved Julie Brown. Just Say Julie, man. She was a comedian. She still rocks. She's still out there rocking, being hilarious. I loved her show, Just Say Julie. Damn. Greg, was I a fan of The Greatest American Hero? Yes, I was. I still am. Believe it or not. I'm still walking on air. Valerie, yeah, that was Valerie. But then, you know, Sandy Duncan came in. But still, it was the Hogan family. That was, with Valerie, with Sandy Duncan, that show was great. Those characters were great. The brothers were great. Jason Bateman was fantastic on that show. Yeah, Greg, everybody, the Homecoming Queen. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Classic. She is hilarious. Julie Brown, man. Fucking wrote Earth Girls Are Easy, which I love. I love 1989, man. Earth Girls Are Easy. I still love that movie. That needs a Blu-ray release. And then in the 90s, she did a parody of Pulp Fiction called Plump Friction. Leroy Green. Yeah, the theme song. That's another thing in the 80s. The theme songs were fantastic. The theme songs to the cartoons and the shows were great. They don't do that anymore. They just don't do it anymore. Greg, Dr. Demento. Of course, I listened to the Dr. Demento show. That's how I got into so many of the music and the bands that I enjoy. The weird shit. Of course, Weird Al was synonymous with Dr. Demento. They Might Be Giants was synonymous with Dr. Demento. One of my first cassettes. My first cassette was Thriller. But one of my first cassettes was They Might Be Giants' self-titled album. Leroy Green can't find a full version anywhere. Not a full good version anywhere. What's cool is that Gary Portnoy, who did a lot of those 80s theme songs, has his own channel on YouTube and has put up full versions of his themes so you can grab in good condition, in like remastered condition. Man, don't you love this? I love this, guys. I love talking 80s, man. It's just a good feeling. It makes me happy. It always, every single time, I have to, when I sign off, I watch something 80s. But again, I told you, I don't think there's a day goes by where I don't watch something 80s. But it just, this helps. This amps it up. This is just a great feeling. I love being in this room, and seeing everything, seeing my past, seeing my childhood, seeing the amazing output from that decade. Incredible. Ooh, and you fans of LBP Warlock, I want to thank the fans who did grab a couple of the Teen Ape replica masks. We've got 3 left. Only 3 are left because only 5 are being made. We got 3 left. 3 spots because they are made to order. They are pre-orders. Um, so thank you for that. And the Death O' Lantern Blu-ray screeners are coming, and we will be pre-ordering that too. It is finally done, and it is now being sent to me to be turned into a Blu-ray screener. So, and we did get an artist to do the cover, a very simple cover for the Blu-ray, so that you fans could have the art. Remember Mr. Wizard? Of course I remember Mr. Wizard. But do you remember the show The Wizard? He was a little person who was in Time Bandits and a couple other things, but he had a short-lived show called The Wizard, and he was a whiz with mechanical stuff and making cool-ass toys and shit, and he would get into trouble. There would be like adventures and hijinks would happen, and that was a good show. Friels, Pauly Shore, the Weasel. Yeah, Pauly came on late. It was like 89 and started funking up with MTV. Before that, it was Randy of the Redwoods on MTV. Max Headroom would pop on MTV from time and time again. David, yes, Death O' Lantern. It's finally coming. It's finally coming. Midnight Owl. Am I the only one who remembers the kid show Nuggets? I don't remember Nuggets. I remember the Biscuits. I don't remember the Nuggets. I remember the Littles. Trollkins. Get Along Gang. Shirt Tails. The Nuggets. I definitely do not remember 2 adult hosts with giant talking gold rock. That is interesting, though. I want to seek that out. Is it 80s? Well, it was only Leroy Green. It was only certain directors who actually cast kids or teens to play kids or teens. Most of Hollywood just didn't give a shit, and they'd cast 30-year-olds playing 15-year-olds. I mean, look at the Porky series. Come on now, we didn't care. We were kids. We loved it. And then now it's like a funny cliche. It's a funny stereotype. Is that the '80s were just filled with 35-year-old kids in those shows and movies we loved. But people like John Hughes knew what the fuck they were doing. People like Richard Donner knew the fuck what they were doing. Casting to type, casting the characters as you should cast. Leroy Green, that's awesome, but I already have Toy Soldiers on Blu-ray. And I just talked about it on my part 2 video movie collection video that's going up next week. I have the UK release of Toy Soldiers on Blue. John, speaking of Kurt Loder and Pauly Shore, have you seen Pauly Shore is Dead? I have not. Because, you know, I don't know. Pauly Shore, you know? Even when Pauly Shore was Pauly Shore, I wasn't like a giant Pauly Shore person. I loved Encino Man, you know. Had a poster, had the soundtrack, saw the movie several times in theaters. You know, I wheezed the juice with the best of them. But I wasn't like I didn't watch Son-in-Law or fucking whatever the hell, Jury Duty, any of that shit. I didn't particularly find him that amusing, so he wasn't a big thing for me. Now Ernest, Pee-wee, those guys, they're true comic gems. I don't know, but you know, maybe it's good. Is Pauly Shore is Dead good? I know it's self-deprecating and, you know, referential and shit. Midnight Owl, the 80s were the first era when kids actually got on the A list in Hollywood and major blockbusters. John. Okay, so yeah, so he rips on himself through the whole movie. It's hilarious. Pauly Shore is Dead. So maybe I would enjoy a good watch. Pauly Shore is Dead. I did hear something about that he's, you know, he's in on the joke of himself. So, you know, I have nothing against the person, you know, the human being at all. It's just, it was very one note to me. That was his shtick. I guess, I guess a well-placed ew was more hilarious to me than a whiz. Oh. Jim Varney was a genius. No bones about it. um, Midnight Owl, Today's Special, or Reading Rainbow. I liked them both. Do you guys remember Out of Control with Dave Coulier? I want to say it was 1986. With his friend Dizzy. She was a nutcase, a nut job. But that's where he started doing the Cut It Out. And then a year later, he was on Full House. Leroy Green, NECA Toys is going to release a Karate Kid toy line. Yep. Yeah, I saw those at Toy Fair. Hell yeah. I don't really go for the 6-inch stuff anymore, 6, 7-inch stuff. You know, I've had conversations about that throughout all these videos. We tend to go for more of the hot toys or the sideshow or the statues. Better looking as far as displaying. You get a little more shelf space. But I am definitely going to get those Mego style Karate Kid figures for sure. Midnight Owl, love Double Dare. Love Double Dare. I program a Double Dare episode every Saturday morning sleepover as well. I put that in the programming. And it's back. Double Dare is back. It recently came here to Rochester, the traveling show, complete with Mark. I loved, I talked about it last episode, but I loved Remote Control as well on MTV. Teen Win Loser Draw. That was a great show. Yes, Leroy Green. Double Dare is back. It's on the channel now. I mean, again, I don't have cable, but it is on Nickelodeon. Greg, did I ever watch That's Incredible? Yeah, I remember That's Incredible. Midnight Owl, Skippy. Are you talking about Skippy, the Warlock Home Video character, or Skippy, the Mark Price portrayed character from one of the greatest television shows of all time, Family Ties? Um, Leroy Green. I don't know if Mark Summers is back hosting the new Double Dare, but I know he did do the Double Dare tour that went around. Another great thing that's similar to that stuff was when they did Battle of the Network Stars back then. When they'd get like celebrities of the day of the be it sitcoms or dramas on television or the teen kids, and they'd pit them to do these crazy ridiculous things. Midnight Owl, yes, yes, yes. Mark Price did host Teen Win Loser Draw. It was a dope show, man. I love that character. I love Skippy. And he's great in 1986's Trick or Treat, which still needs a 100% official US Blu ray. I have the foreign German Blu ray of Trick or Treat from 1986, but they they could have done a better job cleaning it up. It was still amazing to see widescreen for the first time ever. I had never seen that movie widescreen, so it was nice to see widescreen. But I would like a crisper picture for sure, and definitely some extras. So it boggles my mind that some of these boutique companies can't seem to get the rights to Trick or Treat. Battle of the Network Stars was beyond awesome. Hell yeah, it was. Well, yes, Midnight Owl. It was better in the '70s when Linda Carter would race Suzanne Summers, but the '80s version was solid too. Hey man, they were bouncing in the '80s as well. Freels, as always, I have enjoyed the live chat and everyone in the chat, but I gotta go. I'm out. Thank you again for always stopping by. Much appreciated. I hope you continue. I hope you watch the shows. Comment. Let us know what you think. Um, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Ooh, I still have some chocolate. Leroy Green, Nintendo or Genesis? Honestly, mm, well, I'm gonna say Nintendo and Super Nintendo, but I loved my Genesis. However, I found there weren't as many games that I loved on Genesis as there were on Nintendo and Super Nintendo. There's specific games that I love for Sega Genesis, and it's few and far between. But man, those graphics were something else. Till Super Nintendo. Yes, he's talking about the. Yes, that's when I got my Sega Genesis. Was 1989. It was Christmas that year. Um, I did play the Sega Master System. I played. I think it was called Alex Kidd. I remember something like that. And the boxes for those early games for the Master Systems were like white with just the checker imagery design and a little picture in the middle of the box. My favorite arcade game in the 80s to play, I would say hands down, Miss Pac-Man or Pac-Man. Loved it. Still love it to this day. That's the machine that I want in my home. That is the arcade cabinet I want in my home is a Pac-Man machine or Miss Pac-Man. Um, and then when the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles hit for the arcade version in store, in places, that was dope. And it was even more amazing when it came out for the Nintendo. And that was a coveted game for me, man. All those Turtle games are fantastic, both on NES and Super NES. The Turtle games were some of the funnest, um, and some of my favorites. But that Turtles 2 arcade, I still have I re got it. It's a minty fresh in box with everything in it of that game. I also loved RoboCop. I loved Bionic Commando, Contra. You know, all that stuff. That stuff is awesome to me. You know, Leroy Green. Yeah, the uh, one up machines. They're a little smaller. They're about 250. I have seen them, and I want that Pac-Man one. They are coming out with Mortal Kombat, and people hack them. I would be fine with something like that too, because you could fit a couple, you know, as opposed to the larger ones. And it has a booster that it can set upon, and you can actually stand and do it as opposed to sitting and doing it. But I would get that. For me, it was Atari 2600. I didn't play as much ColecoVision. I had friends who did. Never played in television. Um, I had a friend, his father had in television and wouldn't let us even touch it. So it was his. But we had the Atari 2600. See, it's games like that that take me back, you know, like, and those specific games that I played as a kid in the 80s are the ones that I play now. I, you know, truth be told, I am a terrible gamer. I can't. I still have trouble handling the controls and the how you're supposed to be in these newer games. The you know, yeah, I've got a good portion of my friends are into all the modern stuff, and certainly my wife and son. But my wife much prefers the older stuff, and that's where her collection is mostly, vast. But yeah, I prefer the older stuff. Yeah, I like Street Fighter as well. Arcades are nearly extinct now. It's more novelty. Yep, unfortunately you are correct. But there's places out there who still rock the arcades and try to bring that sensibility back. And as I said last week, there's the barcades, and very specifically, I know one in Cleveland, Ohio, which is a an '80s themed barcade, um, which is awesome. Midnight Owl owned a ColecoVision attachment on an Atom computer. Didn't replace it with an NES until 1990. They still sold new games for it at the local CompuCenter as late as 1992. That's awesome. That's awesome. Greg, have you ever wished you had a Zemeckis cube in your life? uh, I wish that whole world, the Oasis. I wish that were real. You know, I fear I would probably be like that movie for sure. I would stay in that world. I would have those goggles on. I would be lost in the '80s if I could. Yeah, I mean we have a barcade here in Rochester. It's fine, but I much prefer when a place will take the aesthetic of the '80s and incorporate that um, into the design of what they were trying to do. Where this is, it's old cabinets, but you're walking into a modern setting, and it, you know, aesthetically, it isn't pleasing to me. There's a place in Pennsylvania that's like 2 hours away from me called A Slice of the '80s, and it's a pizza joint that is all '80s inside and everything. I want to go. I want to take that pilgrimage. I go through that area a lot for conventions and whatnot, and I would love to give it a shot. Do a video from there. We might have some shows coming up actually, live and pre-taped, at this place called Pop Rock, which is here in Rochester, which is one of the reasons why the store I was trying to put together never happened, because these guys were right there and I had no idea. Swooping up, coming up, but Pop Rock, they are a comic book, collectible, toy, cereal Saturday morning bar. They show cartoons as well, and but they have agreed to let us do some shows from there. So one of these days coming up, we're going to be doing some fun stuff from Pop Rock here in Rochester. Midnight Owl. I have not seen that documentary. It sounds amazing, though. I would love it. That band, that band was like a waking nightmare from like the Disney animagic people who the discarded like fucked up animatronics they gave to Showbiz Pizza. Leroy Green, I was gonna do a whole The store was called Crept from the '80s, and it was going to be a video store slash nostalgia toy store slash buying stuff from the '80s slash like place to sit and enjoy and listen to music, have special screenings and stuff like that, rent videos and stuff like that, and it just didn't manifest, unfortunately. Uh, it was serious for a little bit, and the Seaver curse reared its ugly head, and things fell apart, unfortunately. Sour. Okay, I'm gonna stop this at 9 o'clock. So we got a little bit more, guys. You guys want to keep talking? Um, about a half hour more. Do you guys have the glow? Hey Jay, popped in to say hey before movies start. Movies? What are you watching? What you watching? What you gonna watch tonight? Midnight Owl. Did you ever see King of Kong? I absolutely did see King of Kong. That ridiculous ass face. I'm glad they. Oh, are those your designated flicks that you picked for the night? James? Night of the Creeps is a classic. It's one of my favorite films. David, what's a question you always wanted to be asked but hasn't happened yet? Cheat question, I know. I don't know because I would probably just talk about it. I like being surprised. I like them coming at me. Uh, Dave, I don't know. I've certainly been asked a lot of questions. Midnight Owl watching Action Smacked on B Movie TV, a channel on Roku while cheating. That's cool. That's cool. 80s B action movies. Sounds amazing. Sounds completely dripping with sweaty, geeky sweat. Magic sweat. Action sweat. Leroy Green, that's not the first time you've seen Fletch, though, right? You're just saying you saw Fletch today, and it has a great soundtrack. You're damn right it does. It's a great movie. I love Fletch. Jay Gross, how many inches of dangling fury are too many inches? There's never enough. There's never enough inches. 12 inches of dangling fury is child's play. Leroy Green, I would agree with that. I think Fletch, the first three vacation movies, and Spies Like Us, and Three Amigos are Chevy Chase's best shit for sure. Midnight Owl. By the way, I bought the computer I'm chatting on with Mr. Underhill's American Express card. Want the number? John Cocktoes. John Cocktoes. Jay Gross, you've never seen Fletch? Whoo! Jamo! You got to get on that. Three Amigos is a classic. I just talked about it with part 2 of my movie collection video. Three Amigos was a movie that when we saw in the theater, my mom, I'll remember it forever. That and Beetlejuice, because my mom is one of the loudest laughers, and she was laughing so hard during both Three Amigos in '86 and Beetlejuice in '88 that the theater that we were in started laughing because of my mom laughing so hard, and I'll always remember it. But and also Three Amigos became, for some reason, I don't know why. Maybe it's because Three Amigos was released in December in '86, so it was around Christmas time. But when Three Amigos ended up hitting video, that became like we had this. Uh, of course, we had the family get together for Christmas Eve, but we would invite some of our good friends, family friends, over, and me and the kids would play and everything. But Three Amigos ended up being like one of those Christmas Eve movies that we would just throw on the VCR when it came out, and that became like part of the Christmas ritual. It was weird. It lasted like probably 3 or 4 years where we would do that. David Hess, best John Candy film. um, for me, well, shit, he's great. John Candy himself, I love Uncle Buck, hands down. Uncle Buck, John Hughes, John Candy. Um, but I love him in Spaceballs. I love his small part in, very small part in Little Shop of Horrors. And I loved him in SCTV. But as far as a movie starring John Candy, for me, it's Uncle Buck for sure. 1989. Leroy Green, I got to revisit the Fletch sequel. Fletch Lives. Fletch Lives was great too. I saw that the girlfriend that I was with at the time when we went to the movies to see that movie. I think she wanted to break up with me right after that movie. I'm like laughing, I'm enjoying it, I'm so digging it, and she just wasn't having it. All she wanted to do was make out. And I had a thing when I took a girlfriend or a girl to the movies growing up, mid late 80s is when I started like dating. I was, 10, 11, 12, 13 type shit, stupid shit. But anytime I was, unless the movie ended up being like turd sauce, I wasn't having any sort of trying to make out or anything like that. Didn't matter that she was there and trying to get up all up in my lips. I was like, I'm watching this movie, sucker. Movies, man, movies, movies, movies. If it sucked, then I'd be like, all right, let's get to let's salivate. Let's get these lips a smacking. There goes Leroy Green. I like Great Outdoors, Armed and Dangerous, and Summer Rental. Great Outdoors is fun. Jay Gross. Yes, you watch the film and then you make out. Yes, you watch the film and then you make out. I get it. Yeah, well, I definitely, you know, I definitely pissed some people off in those days. you know. I mean, I was like that in my teens and 20s too. It was just like, we are watching this movie. Again, if it was a fucking dope movie, then that's what we're there to do. We're not there to make out. I didn't pay money for you and myself to come in here to make out. You know, I remember doing it to a couple movies, a couple stinkers. I remember distinctly the first time I was like, okay, let's just make out, was when that god awful Super Mario Brothers came out. I was like, fuck this movie. This is garbage. This isn't what I wanted. And I was just like, we going to back, girl. We gonna lock lips. We gonna sink ships. David Hess, I am not a fan of The Office at all. Greg, were your movie dates wearing lip smacker? I sure hope so. Some sort of flavored lipstick, bubble yum. Yeah, David, I just, for the most part, I don't like the actors in the show. As far as that style, Parks and Recreation, all the way. All the way. Adore that show. Much, for me, much funnier. I like the actors. I like the dynamics. Yeah, The Office just didn't do it for me. And I gave it a shot. It just, no thanks. A lot of it has to do, again, with the actors. If there's actors I don't like, then it's just like, ugh. And I don't like Steve Carell, never have. I don't like fucking um, Ricky Gervais for the British one. I don't think he's funny. I like Martin Freeman, you know. I don't know. Nobody. Rainn Wilson didn't appeal to me either. I don't know. Whatever. People's opinions, man. Absolutely, David. I was PIA was our Parks and Recreation for sure, hands down, for sure. And I like when the Muppets took that style too, when they did their one season of the relaunch of the Muppets on ABC. I like it. That was funny. It shouldn't have been canceled. People fucking complained. The Muppets should be going through these adultish trials and tribulations. Ugh, my God. Midnight Owl, I've got damn near everything. Man, you gotta come to me. You know? You gotta get it straight from the filmmaker. How could you betray me? I don't see any of the money that comes from that's like online or streaming or out there and you can get from God knows where. Come to me, Midnight Owl. Come to me. The guy who made the movies. That's right. Listen to your pal David in the comments. He knows what he's talking about. So did we sufficiently talk about why I love the 80s, folks? Now it's starting to wind down a little bit. I hope you're still being entertained. Um, I'll try next week to have another topic to keep the flow going a little more. Think of some questions. Think of, stuff for us to rap about. Oh, and also with our Star Wars show that Casey and I are doing, the Scruffy Looking Scoundrels show, you can throw in some questions that we'll ask on the show. If you're a Star Wars fan, if you want to know some shit about our connections with Star Wars, what we love about Star Wars, this, that, and the other thing, throw those questions to us on the Warlock Home Video Networks page or on the Don't Forget a Towels page for Scruffy Looking Scoundrels. Or you can hashtag it and ask the questions to us and we'll find it if you've got those Star Wars questions for us. We just recorded our second episode of that show. Yeah, the second episode was just recorded, so that's going up next week for Scruffy Looking Scoundrels. Also going up next week is the second part of the movie collection, a look at my movie collection, part 2. That is shot and it's going up next week. We're shooting 2 episodes of It Crept from the 80s next week as well. One with Casey and the other with Chris Tansky. He's back. He's coming back. So that'll be nice. And as I said, we have lists of the subjects that we're going to do for certain shows, and we just got to do them. We just got to we got to get the more we got to get more people. I want to do fan shows where we have some of the fans come and be on the shows. Like I said, come and be a part of the show. Come and experience Saturday morning sleepover with us. We'll do special shows like that. People around the area we need to get, and we want to bring on and bring back some people that enjoy the show. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, we got about 10 more minutes, then I'm out, folks. 10 more minutes. What do you got? What you got for me? Like I said, again, if you're a fan of the movies, Teen Ape fan, we've got 3 of the replica masks left. There's only 5 being made. Clearly, we don't know if we're going to do them again since it wasn't like a, knock out of the park hit. A lot of people was interested when we mentioned it, but a lot of people didn't really, grab them. But so there's 3 to be made for 3 fans left for those Teen Ape masks. The replicas, you just got to get a hold of me and we'll set it all up. The Death o' Lantern is coming. The pre-orders for that. The Death o' Lantern remake Blu-ray, which is cool. I just got the art tonight, which is just simple, but it's fun, and I wrote some dumb stuff for the back, and a fan of ours put it together, which was really awesome of him, and looking forward to finally getting that into people's hands so they can see what the hell we did. Again, don't expect much because it's definitely not worth the wait for sure. But it is fun. It's stupid fun, stupid silly, and it's the best looking thing we've ever done for sure. David, lesser known Marvel character you would love to see have a film. Film, I don't know, but TV show, I would love a Moon Knight TV show. I think that's an awesome character, and they could do some sweet shit with that character. But the movies, man, I don't know. They're doing like so much, and so much you're discovering through what they're doing. Like they're planting so many different little eggs here and there that are for some characters that you're just kind of like, well, that's awesome they're doing that, because they're not as well known, they're not as mainstream. But if you're a comic reader, then like, ooh, are they going towards this? So that would be cool. Like I want Nova to show up, Adam Warlock to show up, things like that. And it seems like they're hinting, I love, love, love that we're finally getting the Skrulls, because the Skrulls are some of my favorite villains of all time. They're just so awesome. So I'm really happy with Captain Marvel. We're getting that, and clearly, it's set in the '90s, but clearly they are setting up some shit that's going down for the next phase of Marvel that involve the Skrulls. You mark my words. Mark my words. There's gonna be some heroes we thought were heroes, but we're actually Skrulls. I guarantee there's gonna be people we have grown to love that are gonna end up being Skrulls. You just wait. I don't know. I mean, they're still using his script for Guardians 3. I don't know. They just got to get a guy in there that can work with those actors and let them play and just guide the ship. Not really try to change the tone much, but just guide the ship. Sort of how Ron Howard came in when Lord and Miller left Solo. He came in to guide that ship. So they need that. So it's not dead. It's not gone. those characters are still gonna rock with or without James Gunn. I mean, look at what the Russos did with them in Infinity War. It was still great, and it still felt like the Guardians, regardless of. I mean, listen, James Gunn was not directing those scenes, but it had that feel. It had that throughway. You knew it felt like the Guardians through and through Infinity War. So it can be done. Greg, do you ever think we'll get a Wonder Twins and Gleek movie? I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if the way that the television shows are going, because for me, DC is knocking it out of the park with the television shows. I wouldn't be surprised if the Wonder Twins show up in a show like that. Maybe not their own show, but like as characters, reoccurring characters on shows like that. I can't see them doing a Wonder Twins movie. If they did, I mean, I'd be on board. That would be great. Speaking of Solo, I saw that it's on Netflix. Time for a rewatch. Yeah, man. I mean, I have it on Blu-ray. I've probably watched it 4 times now. Twice in the theater and twice at home. I love Solo. I think it's great. So much fun. People are idiots. What do you want? People have their opinions. I know I like it and I enjoy it, and that's what matters. Greg, I love Solo. Good. Awesome. Ooh, we're getting down here, folks. All right, just a few more minutes, and then I am out the doubt. I'm out like the gout. But get those questions already locked and loaded for next week. I'll let you guys know when I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try to do. Listen, I'm gonna try to alternate. You know, maybe I'll do Thursday night live shows or Saturday night live shows. It's tough because I've gotten some messages from people who say they can't make certain times I do it, but it's like, well, then other people can't do it. So I just honestly I just do it when I can do it, when I have that time to do it, and so it's like Thursday nights or Saturday nights when I know I'm available to have that time to just sit and do this and chat with you. So hopefully that works for you guys, but that's when it'll alternate, and you know, hopefully I'll see you guys. You'll pop in and all will be magical. But I hope you had fun. I hope you got something out of it. All right, David. Well, there you go. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's gonna go Thursday or Saturday, but for the most part, it's probably gonna be every Saturday night unless something is happening. If something is happening, if something's going on, then it'll probably go to a Thursday. You know, so. But I'll know ahead of time, and I'll let everyone know ahead of time. But I appreciate everyone showing up. I appreciate the people who watch afterwards. Thank you so much. We love that people are interacting. We love that people are finding the channel and enjoying the shows and talking with us. You know, we might not have 1,000 people, we might not have 1,000,000 people, but we have who's here, and we're thankful for it, and that's awesome, and that's enough. We just, you know, we enjoy growing this little community and talking to everybody and geeking out with everybody about the things we love that we're passionate about, and we hope you enjoy it too. You know, and we're not going to tolerate any of the negativity. We're just not. If there's negative shit in the comments, if there's negative shit that pops up here and there through the shows or whatever, live shows, whatever, it's not happening. You're gone. You're just not going to be a part of this. Ban, 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 ban. That's just because we don't. It's not needed. It's stupid. It does nothing for us. It honestly does nothing for you unless it makes you feel huge and amazing and like you're the coolest shit out there. But really, it's just it's not needed. There's enough negativity in this world. You don't have to throw it on our channel to be a dick. So it's just something we will not tolerate. We just won't. So blam 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 blam. It'll be gone. And then all you other people who actually enjoy it can stay and enjoy and have fun and pleasure yourselves to the magic of the Warlock Home Video Network and the shows we have. So, anyway, thank you to all, and we will see you next week. And be sure to check out the shows that are coming. Let us know what you think. Tell your friends. Have them like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And be a part of the Warlock